The Machiavellian path to unbreakable discipline. There exists a version of yourself that remains unknown to you. A version so calculated, so relentlessly consistent, and so unwavering that encountering this person today would leave you unrecognizable to yourself. You would fear this individual. Most people misunderstand discipline. They believe it involves early rising, healthy eating, or diligent work. They're mistaken. True discipline isn't a routine. It's an act of war against your own weakness. It's the ability to confront your emotions, exhaustion, and excuses, then bury them completely. Machiavelli understood this principle. He didn't write for the virtuous. He wrote for strategists. He recognized that maintaining power in a chaotic world requires strength, not predictability. You must become a natural force. When you achieve genuine discipline, people don't simply respect you. They become nervous in your presence. They sense a transformation. They recognize someone who can no longer be manipulated, someone who has ceased negotiating with themselves. This terrifies them because a person unbreakable by their own mind cannot be broken by anything. You're here because you're exhausted, not physically, but spiritually drained. You're weary of your own inconsistency, tired of making promises to yourself that you break by noon. You watch others flourish while you remain trapped in cycles of motivation followed by collapse. You want to understand liberation. You want to build a bulletproof mind. I'll show you how. But be warned. This isn't self-help. This is self-destruction. We'll demolish the weak, dependent, emotional parts of you so the ruler can emerge. Phase 1. The discipline of silence. Machiavelli once observed, everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience who you really are. The average person reveals everything, broadcasting plans, posting workouts, announcing transformations on social media before completing a single day of effort. They seek validation for work not yet done. This is why they fail. They release the pressure valve before the engine starts. You must do the opposite. Become invisible. True discipline demands silence and darkness. Constantly discussing your goals is begging for approval, asking the world's permission to transform. Stop asking. The most dangerous person in any room is the one who listens, observes, and says nothing. Silence creates a vacuum that makes people restless. They project their fears onto you, wondering what you're planning, why you no longer need their attention. This silence becomes your armor, protecting your intentions. Working in darkness allows mistakes without judgment, corrections without interference, strength building without the pollution of others. Doubt. Imagine disappearing for 6 months, no announcements, no explanations, just work, gym, business, mind. You eliminate noise, cheap dopamine, toxic friends who only value you when you're drinking with them. Then you return, but not the same. You return sharper, more substantial. Your presence feels different. You don't need to announce your changes. They feel it in your posture. Hear it in how you don't speak. This is ghost discipline. It frightens people because it reminds them of their own lack of focus, highlighting that while they sought attention, you built power. Begin today. Stop explaining yourself. Explanation is victim language. The powerful don't justify actions. They execute them. Phase 2. Emotional alchemy. There's a misconception that disciplined people are robots, feeling no pain, boredom, or sadness. This is false. The disciplined person feels everything: the urge to sleep, rejection's pain, the overwhelming desire to quit. The difference is they don't care. Machiavelli argued that leaders shouldn't be governed by emotion, but should use emotion. He said men are moved by 2 primary impulses: love or fear. Apply this to yourself. You can't rely on loving your routine. You'll hate it at 4 a.m. You can't trust passion. It's an inconsistent flame extinguished by any wind. You need something colder. Duty. Discipline is acting in direct opposition to how you feel. It's emotional alchemy, transforming the lead of "I don't want to" into the gold of "I did it anyway." When you stop consulting your feelings before acting, you become dangerous. If your enemy knows you only fight when motivated, they need only wait until you're sad or tired. But if you're the type who works harder when miserable, trains harder when heartbroken, focuses deeper when angry, you become unpredictable, immune to circumstances. This frightens people. They look at you thinking, "Why doesn't he stop? He should be broken by now." They don't understand that you've disconnected actions from feelings, treating emotions like weather. You observe the storm, but don't cancel your mission because of rain. Phase 3. Weaponizing isolation. Machiavelli knew that maintaining power often required solitude. He wrote, "A wise prince must rely on what is in his own control, not on what is in the control of others." Examine your social circle, the 5 people you spend most time with. Are they challenging you or comforting you? Most people fear being alone, filling every silent moment with podcasts, music, texts, scrolling. They can't sit in a room with their own thoughts because those thoughts torment them with truth. You're wasting your potential. To become truly disciplined, you must embrace isolation. You need the willingness to distance yourself from people who don't serve the mission. This sounds cruel because it is. Cruel, but necessary. When you begin excelling, people will try pulling you back. Not from hatred, but because your growth highlights their stagnation. You become a mirror reflecting their choices. Your fitness makes your heavy friend feel judged. Your business makes your lazy friend feel attacked. They'll say, "You've changed. You're obsessed. You have no fun anymore." Excellent. Fun is the distraction of the average. You're not here for fun. You're here for mastery. You need to become comfortable being the villain in their story. Let them call you cold, distant. Let them tell stories about how you think you're better than everyone. You don't think you're better. You simply have different standards and refuse to lower them for others. Comfort. Isolation is the laboratory of greatness. In solitude, you discover who you really are without the noise of others. Opinions. You hear your own voice. Clarify your vision. Phase 4. The fear of unpredictability. Machiavelli advised that a leader should never be completely predictable. It is much safer to be feared than loved, because love is preserved by the link of obligation, which, owing to the baseness of men, is broken at every opportunity for their advantage. But fear preserves you by a dread of punishment which never fails. When you're undisciplined, you're predictable. People know you'll quit, complain, and cave under pressure. You're easy to manipulate because your weaknesses are visible. When you become disciplined, you become a glitch in their matrix. You stop reacting. Someone insults you, you don't get angry. You observe, pause, return to work. Crisis happens. You don't panic. You analyze. You lose money. You don't cry. You rebuild. This lack of reaction terrorizes manipulative people who exploit emotional instability to control you. When you remove the buttons they used to press, they become powerless. Your consistency becomes your weapon. Imagine a man who shows up every single day without complaint or boasting, simply executing. After a year, you can't stop him, discourage him, or distract him. That man is terrifying because he's inevitable. Phase 5. The standard of the absolute. You've failed because your standards are too low. You've accepted a version of reality where trying is enough, where almost is acceptable. You need to raise the floor. Machiavelli studied great empires, Rome, Sparta. They didn't fall to external enemies but rotted from within, losing discipline and becoming soft. Luxury weakened them. You're living in humanity's most luxurious period. Everything is designed to make you soft, to sedate you, To be disciplined in this world is an act of rebellion. You must declare war on comfort, establishing standards that seem irrational to others. When you maintain a standard of excellence, you expose everyone else's mediocrity. This is why they hate it. Your existence challenges their excuses. If you can do it, why can't they? It's easier to call you crazy than admit they're lazy. Time is your only non-renewable resource. Every second spent arguing with idiots, scrolling social media, or worrying about things you can't control is a second stolen from your future empire. Guard your time like a dragon guards gold. Be inaccessible, brief, direct. When people realize your time is expensive, they stop wasting it. When they realize your attention is rare, they value it. Phase 6. Death of the former self. This is the hardest part, performing a funeral for who you used to be. To become the person who frightens others, you must kill who you were. You need to eliminate the version that needs to be liked, that apologizes for having ambition. Machiavelli said, "There is no way to avoid war. It can only be postponed to the advantage of others." You're at war with your past self. If you don't kill him, he'll kill your future, dragging you back to old habits, whispering when things get difficult. You must be ruthless. You're shedding skin. It's painful, leaving you raw, but it's the only way to grow. You might lose friends, partners, be misunderstood by family. This is the tax you pay for greatness. Don't complain about the tax, simply pay it. On the other side of that, death is rebirth, a leaner, more ruthless, faster version of yourself. A version that operates on logic, not emotion. A version that sees the world as a chessboard, not a playground. This new you is scary. He scares you a little, doesn't he? He should. Power is always frightening. You're building power, not over others. That's tyranny. But over yourself. That's majesty. When you enter a room with total self-control, you vibrate at a different frequency. People yield right of way without knowing why. But knowing you shouldn't be underestimated. You have that look, the look of someone who has seen the abyss and walked through it, who has conquered their own mind. There is no greater victory. The man who conquers himself is greater than the man who conquers a city. So what happens when you commit to this? When you become truly disciplined, the noise stops. The anxiety that hummed in your life's background for years goes silent. Because anxiety comes from knowing you're unprepared, from knowing you're lying to yourself. When you're disciplined, you have nothing to hide. You know who you are and what you're capable of. You stop fearing the future because you're building it. You stop fearing others because you know they can't outwork you. You stop fearing failure because you know failure is just data for the next attempt. You become free. But it's a cold freedom, a lonely freedom. The freedom of the wolf on the hill looking down at the sheep in the pen. They're warm, safe, fed, but trapped. You're in the cold, hungry, but free. That's the choice you must make today. Do you want the warmth of the herd or the power of the hunt? You can't have both. Machiavelli wrote his philosophy in exile, stripped of position, tortured, banished. In that darkness, he wrote words that would change the world. He didn't need applause. He needed truth. Your discipline is your truth. It's the only thing that's truly yours. They can take your money, job, reputation, but they can't take your discipline, your ability to persevere. That's your fortress, your throne. The world is getting softer, noisier, more chaotic. This is your advantage. While they weaken, you strengthen. While they distract themselves, you focus. While they seek comfort, you seek the edge. You're going to frighten them, not because you're trying, but because you're a mirror reflecting everything they're too cowardly to become. Let them stare, whisper, fear. You have work to do. The path is cold and steep, and you must walk it alone. But now you're ready? If you've made it this far, you're part of the 0.01%, the exception. Prove it. The old you is dead. Now go build the new one.